Yeah, how are we? You bunch of rude boys. Now, I am aware that many of you are underdeveloped, you're small, and you're vulnerable, but do not worry. I'm here to help. I'm sat at the desk, I'm absolutely battered after today's pool session. Now, I found out something about this mic. It hates the letter P, it ruins the audio as soon as I say it. So, I'm going to try and limit the amount of times I say that. So, let's see how we get on. Today's session, very good. Decent, mate. Many numbers progressed, and that's what we want. I started the session with 3 sets of adductors. This is not programmed. I know. I've been a menace. I put this in as exercise 1 due to missing the adductor work in yesterday's leg day because my time management was horrendous and the gym was about to close. So just slapped at the start. It's decent. When it comes down to the adductors, it's very easy to butcher this movement. So listen to these cues so you can acquire a chafe so there's no gap down there. First thing you want to think about is just dragging the knees together and ensuring that those input pads do not bang at the top of each rep. Put as little pressure on the foot as possible. Make sure the hips stay back at all times. A lot of people lean forward when performing the adductor, and when you do that, you can move a lot of weight for many reps. I remember when I used to have this at the start of a session and I would perform it like an absolute sponge. I would lean right forward and I'll get like 35 reps, something silly on the stack. Now I come in fresh, I'll get like 6 to 8. So just make sure you're not being a sponge when you're performing your adductors. Use those cues and you will see a chafe come into play over time due to development. Now, first back movement of the session, unilateral pull down. I normally perform this with a bench in front of a cable. However, the bench wasn't available, so I opted for this. It was okay. It wasn't amazing. The reason it wasn't amazing is because there was a lot of input from the bicep. As you can see here, I worked through a large degree of elbow flexion. The less that elbow bends in a lat movement, the better, because there'll be more input from the lat, less from the bicep. So the bicep did get battered here. I'm definitely opting for the other variation, next rotation, but it'll do. They were still effective sets. I didn't have numbers to work off. First set felt around 8, and then the second was 12. And when it comes down to rep ranges, lads, there's nothing magical about them. The magic happens when that concentric tempo slows down. So as long as you're pushing these sets close to failure and you're seeing that occur, it's sound. Whether that happens on the 6th, 8th, 15th, 20th, it really doesn't matter that much as long as you are seeing things get slow involuntarily. Of course, when it comes down to rep ranges, there are benefits and drawbacks. For example, high rep work, more metabolic stress and more blood flow, and we know that is the driver of hypertrophy. That's the second. The first is mechanical tension. Mechanical tension is king. Never forget that, but metabolic stress does bring benefits. So higher rep work does have its place for sure. And then if you look at that low rep work, those low numbers, you're going to have to use more resistance to be within that range. And that does come with some risk. Yes, your muscle might be able to produce the force required to move that amount of weight and fell within that number. However, are your joints happy? Is that connective tissue happy? You have to think about these things. And if you've been lifting for a long time, it's probably not too happy working with those low numbers. So do just keep that in mind. But if you're new to the gym and your execution is getting better and better and you're getting more confident, you could literally program like 8 to 10 reps across the board and blow up. So do just keep that in mind. As you can see with this T-bar row, I'm just putting that shoulder joint to work, letting it roll forward during the negative, dragging it back during the positive. Now, the secret's out. When I program these days, the rule I follow is lat, upper back, lat, upper back. A pull down and a row for both. So we went lat pull down, upper back row. We now do a lat row. Surprise, surprise. In a minute, there will be an upper back pull down. There's nothing magical about this. I just like the way the session flows. It feels good, so I program it that way. when it comes down to this cable row, as you can see, the bench is there. Beautiful stuff. All I'm thinking about is locking the shoulder down to the hip. What I mean by that is I'm keeping it nice and tight so I can create tension through the lat. And then I'm thinking about dragging that elbow into the base of my spine and actually dragging that tricep alongside my rib cage to keep that arm nice and close to my body so I know I am biasing the lat. We want some rocket launchers lat. Rocket launchers. What I'm on about. We want rocket launcher lats. There we go. I want that back development that puts me at risk of taking off on a windy day. And speaking of back development, I'm saying a lot of P's here, I just realised that. It has been lacking. And that's not down to my execution and approach. That sounds very arrogant. But I do train very well and I've been training at a high level for a very long time. The reason it's been slow is just from a genetic standpoint. And a lot of people mess up here, especially new lifters. I don't know what it is with people who suddenly get into the gym, but they train for a month and suddenly go, this muscle group's lagging. I need to bias it. Surprise, surprise, mates. Everything's lagging. You've just started training. Behave. You need to grow systemically, and I need to grow systemically. But what I've noticed while training properly for 2 years is that my quads, they love growth. They're on menacing behavior all year round. They just love to grow. Same with my delts. My delts just seem like little footballs most of the time. However, my back is saying, nah, bruv, we're staying small. So it's taken time to bring this up, but it is starting to progress now. And that's just because I've been doing the same stuff for longer. You just got to get those reps in. Spend more time under that bar, or in this case, pulling that bar, and it will progress. A lot of people mess up. They're just so impatient and they keep changing things. 1 minute they're going failure, next minute they're going reps in reserve. 1 week they're training that muscle group twice, then they're going to try and fit it in 3 times. You just got to be patient. It's delayed gratification over here. So once things are good on paper and the translation's good, so your execution's on point, the intensity's on point, just rinse it. And that progress will come as long as you are eating your food and not being a little bitch. So do keep that in mind. Arm work here, because it is pulling arms. So bicep, standing diagonal cable curl, then tricep push down. As you can see here, using 2 ropes so I can follow that natural carrying angle. And as you'll notice, I try to keep the elbow in the same position the entire time. And I'm also keeping that elbow relatively under the shoulder. That doesn't make sense, you muppet. I'm keeping it. Does that make sense? I'm trying to keep it under the shoulder is what I'm trying to say. Just to put myself in a good position structurally to full send this set. Excuse the dry mouth. This probably sounds horrible unless you're into ASMR. And if you are, mate, definitely subscribe. Be greatly appreciated. But I took 3 working sets on biceps and triceps. We spoke about rep ranges earlier, so I might as well touch on it again. 10 to 15, followed by 2, 8 to 10. I like higher reps first. Get a bit of blood in that muscle. Feel good about myself. And then I get into the remaining working sets. I thought this lighting was going to do a madness. I think it looks like I'm at a school disco. I just need a flame shirt and a pair of 90s and I'll be sorted. But that was the session wrapped up in about an hour and a half. Decent session. Many numbers progressed. I'm going to stop talking. Remember to like, subscribe, comment if you're feeling dangerous, and I'll see you in the next one.